Come with me if you want a list.
Folks, welcome to another edition of Real Estate Experts. As always, I'm your host, Glenn Twiddle, bringing you leading experts from around the country and around the world to help you, the home seller, traverse the minefield that is the Australian property industry. So in many cases, it's about selling for top dollar or buying well for bottom dollar, building a property portfolio, whatever it is. If it's got to do with the property industry, we've got you covered. And today I'm honoured to be bringing you a multi-generational business owner. He's an entrepreneur in real estate and in other industries, in marketing and in branding and in positioning. So he's really done it all over the last couple of decades. So I'm honoured to be picking the brain of author and entrepreneur. You know, the list of what he's done ain't worth mentioning. Peter Morrell, thank you very much for catching up.
Thanks, Glenn.
Mate, the list of accomplishments, mate, you've seen a fair bit. Before we get to the real estate stuff, because I know that your successes in that, I see the trail of successes from your clients a mile long. But before we get there, I've got to ask you, I rarely meet someone that was in your business of marketing and with particular to photography, how you've seen everything from the wet labs or whatever they used to call the film, all the way through to what we do kind of now, where everyone's phone is taking a better quality photo than anyone could have ever dreamt about historically. But tell us about that transition, that when you saw one industry almost become rendered obsolete by another.
Well, it virtually is obsolete, the professional photographic industry now. Not taking photos, but actually processing them in the way that we're used to. So my father was a photographer, so I took over the family business and I moved it on to a professional photographic laboratory in Canberra. So we were doing a lot of work for National Library, Australian War Memorial, a lot of work for developing and processing for the Parliament House, of course, being Canberra. And we saw the transition from wet processing, is what we would call it, into digital. So it was a very major change at the time, and now the old industry of professional photographic laboratories, the way I know it, just doesn't exist anymore. You're right, the quality of photographs that we're taking on cameras now is really quite on phones. It's really quite astounding.
Yeah, and every time we think that it's perfect, they'll come out with another one that's got 1 billion megapixels or whatever it is.
Yes.
But the metaphor that I liken it to is the marketing of real estate used to be done historically in shopfront windows, then it migrated to newspapers, then to places like realestate.com and the internet. And I'm loving seeing what you're doing with that marketing on the next platform where you're leading the way in social media. You know, are you seeing is your experience historically seeing one media or one industry go away in favour of another? Is that why you're so proactive in always being on the front foot?
Absolutely. Probably the photographic industry was a little bit slow in really understanding the impact of digital photography. And so now, when I see a change like that, I'm making sure that I'm right up the front of it, if not ahead of what the change is going on. And you can see that coming in obviously the way property is now marketed and real estate's marketed. So I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm going to be right up the front, and that's what I'm making sure I'm doing at the moment.
Well, it's definitely great to see, because I see that not only are you, like many agents, and I see it across the country, are resting on their laurels thinking that realestate.com as a website is the be all and end all. But I love the way that you're going direct to consumers through, of all things, Facebook, that used to be seen as a teenage thing. It's now where everyone is living. Is that what you're seeing? Like, how is your generation of buyers and activity around your listings weighing up between really almost what would be considered the old school way, just throwing on realestate.com, versus the social media going direct to consumers the way you're doing?
Well, you can't ignore the old medium as well. You still have to work in both, but the activity we're seeing in Facebook, quite often it's leading back to the old medium, websites and whatever, but we're seeing just so much activity in Facebook in roundabout ways, not always in sort of direct in the same way people read a newspaper because they're looking for real estate, but it's more almost subliminal. It's almost from a different direction. So, and that's the real power of Facebook. It's not when we see an advert on even a website or newspaper, we know it's an ad. But Facebook, it's almost subliminal. It's not. It's a lot more subtle than that.
It's really
quite exciting.
Mate, I agree. I had a guest on the show not so long back, and they were saying that they were telling me a story about historically when they they were going to a barbecue. They were in real estate. They were agents for many decades, and they were on the way to a barbecue. And over the road was an open house. And before they went to the barbecue, they just popped into the open house. They bought the property. They bought the property. They were not in the market, and they bought it. And what they likened their Facebook presence to, because they, like yourself, are leading the way in their area of the Gold Coast in this space, they're likening Facebook to that, where it can even attract someone not looking at real estate who didn't know they were looking at real estate, but because we're getting their attention where they are, it's the same as driving past an open house that you might pop into. So I thought that was really fascinating. Where the active buyers are there looking on realestate.com, those passive buyers that sometimes can be a different buyer, this is how it was described to me, they find them through their social. So it's really
Well, you put it so well on the fact that we're actually reaching the buyers where they are rather than having to get them to come to us, which is actually the power of social media, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm loving seeing what you're doing. That's why I wanted to pick your brain about this. So because I get for the people in your area, they got an easy choice. They can call you in because they know that they see you everywhere. They see you doing the right job, and I've seen the list of your success stories. I've seen the videos of people that you've been serving. So, but for people where the choice isn't so easy, how can someone who's watching up in Brisbane or wherever they might be watching from around the country, how do they find the Peter Morrell of their area? Like, is there any criteria they can be on the lookout for? Because I'm sure they all talk the talk pretty well, say they're really good.
It's true, isn't it? All the agents that talk the talk, they'll tell you they're going to sell your house for the maximum price. They're going to sell it quicker than anyone else, and they're the best negotiator in the world. And of course, they can't all be right.
Yeah.
So, and it's so important to make sure you do get that right agent, because that can mean $20,000, $30,000 in your pocket. And don't forget, that's tax-free when it's your own house.
Yeah.
So there's a few things you can do to make sure you're getting the agent that really suits you. And the most obvious thing is to get them in to interview them, have a chat to see whether you have some sort of rapport with them, whether you feel like you can relate to them, and importantly, whether they're the sort of person you'd like them to represent you and the sale of your property. So get them in and have a chat and get a good feel of the agent.
Okay.
But Glenn,
so say we've got good energy, because again, I'm going to play devil's advocate and assume that they, even though I know it's not true, but I would assume they could all fake it at the interview stage. So say we've got someone that feels good energetically. Anything else that we should be on the lookout for?
Just to take you up on that point though, and let's say it's a very important thing to remember, the agent, it's an important part of their business. They spend a lot of time training because they're doing what is a listing presentation. So they train to make sure they sound convincing, their words are good. So don't forget, this is a very highly trained agent when you get them in for that interview. So I suppose that the next thing, and probably even before you get them in there, is go and have a look what they're doing in their open homes. Have a look how they treat their customers, how the buyers when they came in. Are they helpful, or are they just standing in the corner while their PA takes names and they're playing on their phone? Are they helpful? Do they have the information there? Do they have things like, being Campbell, we still have our building pest report on site, so make sure that's there. Right. Is there comparable sales? So the information that a buyer needs to buy your property is there. And a good thing to do is to say to them, because hopefully they'll come up and ask you, well, how are you going?
And if they don't, that might be the first red flag to X.
Just say, can we help you? They say, no, I'm just looking.
Okay.
Now, when you go into a retail outlet, if you say, I'm just looking, you're not just looking, you're doing something.
Yeah, you're there to buy something. Yeah, we don't go to...
You're there. Yeah. So just just see how the agent then reacts to you. Are they being hateful, or they just walk away? Are they helping you buy the property? And then the next... Look, I saw a great survey a little while ago, not so long ago, about a survey that was done for 150 agents in southeast Queensland.
Yeah, I've seen the stats. Yeah.
So southeast Queensland, but it has relevance to the whole of the country. And would you know that a third of those agents weren't even nice at the open home?
Yeah, I saw that stat, and I'd have thought that the secret shoppers were making up those stats if I didn't know them to be true. It's crazy, because we've replicated that experiment informally with some other agents, and they're finding the exact same thing. And the follow-up. I mean, again, I've seen the stats. Please inform our crew of the follow-up statistics that appalled me even worse.
Well, the statistics from then is 2/3 of those agents had no follow-up in any shape or form. So there was no phone. Look, a good agent should ring you that night. Well, even as you leave the premises, there should be an SMS to just acknowledge you were there, maybe a link to an electronic brochure. And then that night, that you should be getting a phone call from the good agent saying, asking whether what you thought of the, or first, thank you for coming to have a look at it. What did you think of the property? And ascertain whether they're a genuine buyer, or whether they had, they thought they might suit that property might suit them. So, and then it can be hard to get buyers on a Saturday night. So even Monday morning, is there another follow-up phone call? Is there a polite SMS or a polite email to say, well, would you like any more information on the property? Would you like a contract? So 2/3 of the people weren't even doing it at that level.
Mate, I tell you, it's funny that I just literally 2 hours ago, I commended a fellow because I inquired about a domain, a website, a blah, blah, blah.com, and it was one of these ones where you don't just register it, someone's already bought it and you have to express interest in buying it. And he's been so diligent in following up, respectfully, but there's been 2 or 3 emails, 1 SMS and a phone call this morning. And I did ask him, how much are you paid? Because if you were a real estate agent with this level of service, you would be one of the top real estate agents in the country, based on the phenomena you're talking about, that they just don't follow up. So,
well, you think they've spent all that time to get the buyers to the open home. They've spent their sellers' money to get them to the open home, and they don't follow up.
It's insane. So there you go. So we do those couple of things. We're already in the top third of agents out there in the game. So I do want to talk to you about a bunch of the things out of that next third, once we've narrowed it down, about things like, well, you're known for your marketing. So maybe let's start there, with a history of marketing and a lifetime in understanding what makes a good photo and what doesn't, in your business life, what makes for good copy and the importance of copy and words and video and photos and all of those things. Tell us about the importance of marketing and how our viewer can identify marketing that's going to get the job done at a good value rate, that doesn't spend, $100,000 on a movie to promote a property, but how do we know where we've got the balance right of good quality and what constitutes that? And the importance of marketing overall.
Well, the importance of marketing can't be underestimated. It's and the marketing needs to be in line with the expectations of the property. So if you're going to get a premium price, the marketing has to be in line with getting that premium price. But you still have to look at what they're doing in their marketing, what the agents are doing, because sometimes in that marketing, it's more about promoting the agent than promoting your property. Now, so you don't, it's getting to the stage where you don't want to promote the agent, your money promoting the agent, because you're selling your property.
Yes.
So it's, but look, good marketing gets you another $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 in your pocket. So, and it's all about the professionalism of the whole package. Obviously it has to be professional photography and it has to be quality photography. The brochures have to have things like a scaled floor plan on the back, so that the buyers can make it, so you're making it easier for them to buy the property. They can see whether their furniture will go in the house, how the whole property will work. Even coming down to the signboard, how it's making sure the signboard is a quality signboard with the money shot of the house and not 2/3 of it the agent. Because you're not selling the agent, you're selling the house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Making sure they're using the appropriate websites. Being Canberra-centric, we use All Homes. It's 100% market penetration in our market.
So it's the major website. So that's an anomaly in around Australian real estate, that a lot of them have domain and realestate.com as the primary place. It's interesting that Canberra has a separate entity that is the main one.
But you can't ignore those other 2 websites, because Canberra has a very transient population. So, and people outside Canberra don't know All Homes. So you have to make sure you're in realestate.com.au and also domain. So, so it's coming back to that, so the sort of money that you're getting from the marketing, I've just recently sold for a couple in Canberra. Now we took it to auction. It was $90,000 over reserve. Now that's the
result that you got.
The result.
Wow.
So that's a retired couple. Now you think they're retired, they're not earning money anymore. So just think how hard that would be for that retired couple to earn $90,000.
Yeah, because they would have been happy with $90,000. And sometimes we see results from agents like yourself when we hear $90,000 above reserve. And I love it when people like yourself don't take that for granted, that you work to get that 90 in the pocket of that retiring couple, because that's their last roll of the dice monetarily, pretty much.
When they downsize.
Yeah.
Well, even just as a taxpayer, if you think of what it takes to earn $90,000 tax-free in your pocket.
What are you going to do? You've got to earn, triple that? No.
It would be
a
triple
third
that.
again. So you've got to earn 150 really to get to pocket 90.
Well, it could be even more than that, Glenn. If you say a third of the money probably goes in tax, another third is probably in
in
living expenses.
Yeah.
So really, it's more like $270,000
Yeah.
to put that in your pocket.
Yeah, that's a
so
good point.
that's the importance of marketing and making sure that the marketing is in line with the expectations of the property.
Yeah. So, mate, I did want to ask you about, because as you know, John McGraw has sat in the chair you're sitting right there. I'm a big fan of John's. John revolutionised the real estate industry, in my opinion, in this country. And his take on marketing has certainly permeated your brand. And I love that like minds come together in that, which is like people like yourself linking up with John and creating a joint venture partnership like you guys have done. Tell us about how the McGraw, I suppose, ethos permeates that, because you guys as a brand don't sit and wait for change to happen. You guys are often the instigators of that change. Tell us a little bit about our mutual friend John.
Well, look, John McGraw and the marketing is the reason I'm with John McGraw and the real estate. Look, you know that the quality that we put out as a franchise group is always of top notch.
Yes.
It's leading edge, and we always know that everybody else in our brand, it won't let us down, because John keeps such a tight control of what we do and how we do it. And that's the important part. It's a very successful brand, and obviously you'd like to stick to that sort of marketing. Putting your own touches on it, of course, but the basic thing of what John McGraw is doing is something to be absolutely commended.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan. He's and we're getting to spend some time with him on a few occasions on this show, and in other instances has been one of the highlights of my career, because I used to read his books back when I was a flegeling, you know. Actually, on that, one of his books is called You Inc., and I've seen you on video, on property videos and things like that, where you're hosting the home. And John certainly talks about the importance of branding an agent. How have you seen, like when you are hosting a video for a property, how does that fit in with what you're saying about kind of not going too far in favour of the agent? Like, what's the benefit for a seller with you being the host of those videos that I'm seeing you do of such high production value?
Well, it's as the seller, it's still important for the buyer to then relate to the person selling their property, because don't forget the final negotiation is going to come back between you and the agent, the buyer and the agent.
Right.
So having a brand yourself, it really helps when the buyer then comes to negotiate. It kind of gets an idea, they know who they're about to negotiate with.
Right, okay, so you're using that familiarity as a rapport weapon to negotiate the buyers up, because they're more likely to tell you stuff. Yeah, no, so that's again a commonality I see with agents like yourself doing that. So no, very artful tactic. Because I tell you, a lot of our viewers sometimes don't realise this. And actually, let me speak to this point. Some of our viewers have written into the show kind of saying, whether it's email or whatever the case may be, about how they paid too much, the agent didn't look after me, like they felt that the agent wasn't representing them. And that's kind of the point, isn't it? The agent isn't. They're there to serve the buyer. Tell us about the agent's relationship as it portrays to both seller and buyer when it comes to that negotiation.
Well, it's the old idea of negotiation being an adversarial process where you're butting up against it. I win, you win, and if I win, you will lose, the other way around. And look, I absolutely don't think that works in negotiation with property. The better rapport you have with the buyer, if you then have to take another offer back from the seller, if you have a rapport with the buyer, they're prepared to listen to you. But if you've been,
butting heads,
they're going to get out on their high horse and say, and not trust you straight away. But getting a rapport with the buyer, they'll listen to you, and that's what you're trying to do: get them to listen to you. So then it does become a win-win situation. Obviously, you're working for the seller at all times, but it's great when again with the buyer, it's not always about the money, it's about buying their dream home.
Absolutely.
So what they're trying to do is buy their dream home and feel like they've had a win as well.
Yeah.
But you're always working with the seller, making sure you get absolute premium price for the seller.
Yeah, that's an interesting phenomenon that many of our viewers don't understand, that they call it a fiduciary obligation in Queensland. I don't know if that's the case nationally, but that legal obligation is for you to represent your seller. And the buyer's win that they end up getting is that they have their dream house. Because I just think about the houses I've lived in. I rarely sit there and brag to friends about how I stole it and got it for a great price. We pride ourselves sometimes on paying a premium price if it's a beautiful home that we love.
That's right. Yeah.
Talk to us then about the importance, I suppose, of hiring someone that can get that extra $90,000 that you mentioned before? Because all agents will say they're the best negotiator. They'll all say, oh yeah, they can do auctions, we can do auctions too. We know all agents aren't created equal because I don't have all agents on this show. How do we find the different negotiators that can get the 90 versus those that are just trying and they say they're doing an auction but they're not? There's some elements they must be missing because not all agents are getting the results you're getting.
Well, there's an interesting way of doing that, and it comes back to the fees that the agents are charging. Now, that's a vexed issue in itself, but an agent will come up with it, will tell you the fees, and then it's make sure that the agent can then justify those fees to you.
Okay, so as an agent, I might come to you as a seller and say, you know, my fees are 3.5%.
3.5%.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing you need to do is ask that agent to justify those fees. Yeah. What is he going to do, and what is his procedures to make sure they're going to get a maximum price for your property, which is what you're paying them for? So make him justify it, make him explain exactly how, make him explain to you how he goes about the negotiation process. And then if he can't do that, well, A, you probably wonder whether he's really going to do that negotiation process, and B, whether he's going to negotiate particularly well, or whether he is a strong negotiator. And question them, so, well, we don't think you should work that fee, and just to see what he says. Now, if he can justify his fees and justify what he's doing, probably he is a good negotiator. Because don't forget, at this stage, he's talking about 0.1, 0.2, maybe even 0.5% that he's negotiating. But when he's negotiating for your property, you're talking about $10,000, $20,000 increments. And don't forget, that's $10,000, $20,000 that goes in your pocket. So that's the first thing to see whether he really does negotiate well. And look, if he comes down with his fees after you ask him a couple of questions, you've then got to worry about what is he going to do when he's negotiating for your property. Is he going to just knock down the price very quickly just so he gets a sale? So the last thing you want to do is out-negotiate the agent that you're about to spend $10,000 to negotiate, you know, whatever thousands of dollars to negotiate your property.
It says you should be paying yourself. If you can negotiate him, pay yourself, save the money.
Do the self,
I like that it sounds like you're earning your fee rather than asking for it unjustifiably.
Exactly.
And that's why you've got all the...
Fees,
tell me, I saw already some stories of folks on videos of yours singing your praises about how well you've done for them. Are you using that as another form of proof that what you're saying is true? Because clearly, as you said before, not all agents are telling the truth when they say they're the best, because there can only be one winner in that race of being the best. So how does historic proof through success stories, like I'm seeing those videos, in some cases quite emotional ones, tell us about the importance of those, that what should our viewers be looking for as far as proof that they're telling the truth, other than that demonstration, which is part of the proof, I would suggest, as well. Of
course, that's why we do those the video testimonials, because they're genuine people obviously singing your praise, but also hopefully explaining how they got to that stage where they are happy with what their process is. And that's important part of that is to make sure that you've actually communicated the whole way along with that seller exactly what you're doing and how you're going about it. And that's where you get those video testimonials from. So,
I love it, mate. I love it. And the difference you're making. So the one thing actually, and I'm going to get cheeky and try and out-negotiate the best negotiator in the game and ask for some copies of your book for our viewers before I get the guts up to try that. One thing I saw you write about, or it might have been in a report or in your book, but it was about the concept of buying the listing. You use that phrase, and I've heard it talked about substantially in real estate circles before. For our viewers, can you explain what buying the listing is and why it's such a, I suppose, easy trap for young players, as far as sellers are concerned, to fall for? What is it first?
Well, it's the single biggest problem I find that a seller has made when they've appointed the agent. Now, it happens, it's almost a matter of procedure for some agents to go to the seller and quote a very high price of what they can get for the property, or listen to what the seller's dream price and say, yes, of course we can get that.
Right.
So effectively they're overpricing the property. Now, it's you've got to remember that the market we're working in it's a very educated market. There's so much statistics and data available to all sales in an area. Most of the buyers are very, very educated on what that property is likely to sell for in that area. So but the agent there's still agents out there that will take on that property at any price. And what they spend the next 2 or 3 weeks doing is beating up on their sellers to make them come down to the market value. Now, what usually happens at that stage is that, so after the first open home, the agent will ring up the seller and say, look, there was no one there. I think your property is worth that price, but the market isn't accepting it. We'll have to come down with the price. And if you're still not down to the market value, the same thing's going to happen next week. The agent will be on the phone to you saying, look, there was no one there. We're going to have to reduce our price. I thought it was worth that, but the market's not doing it. But what's really happening there, you're wasting the 1 or 2 weeks of the most important part of the marketing processes, which when it first comes on the market. Now, what you've got to do as a buyer is you can say that, look, 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom in that area, I've got to go and have a look at it, as opposed to 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom in that area, oh, they're kidding themselves. They're dreaming.
The old castle
They're
analogy.
dreaming. And that's where the educated market comes in. So what happens, you're not going to get anybody to the open home, or very few people. You're not going to get the genuine buyers that will probably, this could be their dream house. Look, they may have missed it by putting the wrong amount into their search engine, so they're not even going to see it. So by the time people have seen the property, it's been on the market for a few weeks, and the buyers are naturally thinking, well, why has it been on the market so long? I noticed there's been 2 price reductions, so they're already thinking bargain hunting. So they're coming to beat you down on your price. What happens if it's been on the market too long? It's quite often going to sell for much less than it would have sold for if it had been properly priced in the first place.
They measure those statistics, and that's clear. The longer it's been on the market, the further away from the asking price it ends up getting, and that's a fact. So, do you think, and this is the hard question that I know it's only an opinion, but you mentioned before that you suspect in some cases it's a matter of procedure to do it. Do you think it's naive enthusiasm, perhaps naivety or ignorance, that they don't know that they're overpricing, that they genuinely think it was worth that, or do you think it's most of the time a tactic that they know exactly what they're doing?
Look, I actually think it's a tactic. They know what they're doing. So agents do a lot of research in the property. As the seller, it is up to you to make sure that they can justify their price. Now, you can do your own research as much as you can, but ask the agent to justify it. Now, if there's not similar sales in that area of a similar property around that price, well, you've really got to argue: are they telling you a story, or can they generally get that price? By the same token, if they can justify or show you incidents where they've got way above the figure, way above the reserve, or way above their asking price, consistently, time after time, well, they probably are worth their fee and worth going for.
And that's what I was going to ask you, is how do we ascertain the difference of someone buying the listing versus someone like yourself who kind of, as a matter of procedure, does achieve that? And so you've answered the question I had going on in my head. How do I tell the difference between the Peter Morrell and the one who's...
Again, the video testimonials help with that.
Yeah, nice. So again, now I get cheeky and I get a rush of blood and I think, okay, mate, how many copies of the book can we grab? We're going to give away some copies now. We'll put a website up there and it's up to you, mate. Can we grab a few copies?
Absolutely, love to.
Thank you, mate. Can you tell us, though, once our guys get their hands on it, what can they expect from it? What's in there that's going to help them? Because clearly you can't help everyone outside of Canberra. So around the country, what are some of the tips and things that are forming the content of the book?
Well, part of the book is in the title itself, which is a no-nonsense guide to selling your property. And that's really what my objective was, to get the book, to publish the book. So that so many things that I know from working in the industry and selling properties, I put in that book so people can understand a little bit more about the process. Because look, I would much prefer to work with an educated seller who knows the process, understands what we're doing, rather than questioning what I'm doing or questioning whether I have the ethics there. The book outlines how I go about selling the process, and that's the real reason I published it.
Nice, mate. Well, guys, grab yourself a copy there. There's a website, go and grab them, and if the website tries to charge you, then you've missed out on the free ones. So too late, but no, there'll be a couple of copies. So thank you very much for that, mate, and congratulations on all the successes. And mate, thanks for finding a bit of time up here in Brisbane, mate. I really appreciate you finding some time while you were up here to
My
hang
pleasure.
out. I know it's
Thank
been a
you,
while
Glenn.
coming. I've been wanting to do this for a bit, so thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, Glenn.
All right. So, guys, on that note, another episode of Real Estate Experts in the Can. So, Peter Morrell, hope that's been as informative for you as it has been for me. My thanks to Peter, my thanks to you for watching, and until next time, bye for now.